Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever wonder why strains like, say, Northern Lights or Skunk #1 or maybe any haze you've tried feel and smell the way they do?
Well, the answer, interestingly, goes back centuries. It's really written into the geography of our planet.
So today we're doing a bit of a historical deep dive, right?
Okay.
Tracing the genetic roots of these big, iconic strains.
Exactly. We're diving into landrace genetics, the ancestral stock, as some call it,
And these aren't just like old, forgotten strains. We're talking pure regional cultivars.
shaped over generations by farmers, climate, isolation, tradition. They're the original blueprints.
Okay? And our map for this journey.
It's drawn from the Nug Notes report. They've mapped out what they term the ultimate cannabis genetic tree.
So the mission today is a global tour to find the origins?
The 10 distinct geographic origins, yeah. The foundation for basically everything on the market today.
Wow. Okay, sounds like botany, geography, chemistry, all rolled into one.
It really is.
All right, let's unpack this. Where do we start? Maybe the most influential region for modern cannabis. The hash belt.
Absolutely. The hash belt. Central and South Asia. This is ground zero for the modern indica family.
Right. And the sources, they talk about short resinous plants, bred for hash.
Exactly. The key thing here is hash production. Short flowering times, loads of resin. That was the goal.
And the core genetics.
Yeah.
The sources are pretty clear on those.
Oh, very clear. You've got Afghan Kush and Mazar-i-Sharif from Afghanistan, Hindu Kush from Pakistan. Those are the big three.
Okay.
Then you also have Iran's Khorasan, India's Kashmiri strains. They sort of round out this powerhouse region.
It's amazing that such a relatively small area is, well, the engine room for so much.
It is the engine, and the research is quite definitive here. Afghan, Hindu, Mazar. They say these form the genetic backbone for almost every Kush and purple strain you see today.
So when we talk about something like Northern Lights or those early dense indicas,
You're fundamentally talking about traits that came directly from these hash belt regions. Stability, density, resin.
and the structure, the short, quick growth,
Hmm.
that was environmental, right? High altitude, short seasons.
Precisely. The environment really dictated the plant's form. But shift just to eastward, still in the resin tradition, and you find something really interesting. The Himalayan highlands.
Ah, the charas tradition.
Mm.
Hand-rubbed resin. So Nepal. Strains like Parvati, Malana.
Alana, Tosh, Nepalese jam, yeah, those kinds of names.
Okay, but what's the contrast here?
Well, this is critical. The hash belt gave us short, stocky indicas. But the sources identify these Himalayan strains, even with all that resin and the spicy incense smells. They're distinctly long-flowering highland sativas.
Wait, long-flowering sativas. For resin, that sounds inefficient compared to the fast Afghanis. Why?
Good question. It seems to boil down to the technique. The hash belt method was often dry sift, shaking resin off dried plants.
Right.
The Himalayan charas tradition often involved hand-rubbing living plants, and that taller, maybe thinner sativa structure, possibly easier to handle for that specific rubbing technique, even if it took longer to grow.
Ah. So cultural difference in processing led to different genetic paths for resin.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Two ways to get potent resin, driven by culture and technique.
Okay, fascinating. Now, let's follow those ancient routes westward. Mediterranean and North Africa. Still talking resin.
Still resin, yeah, but adapted to new climates. You see that fast-flowering trait again, like Sinai from Egypt's Red Sea coast?
Along the old spice routes.
Right, described as fast-finishing, spicy, hash-focused. Then you move to the Levant, the Eastern Med.
Lebanese red and blonde. I saw the sources call them semi-autoflower hash plants. What does that mean exactly?
Okay, let's pause there. Semi-auto flower is important historically. It means they start flowering based partly on age, not just the light cycle changing.
So they finish early outdoors, regardless of perfect light conditions.
Exactly. They could beat the autumn rains, which was huge for growers, especially further north, made them reliable outdoor finishers. And yeah, the sources mentioned they might lean towards CBD sometimes too. An early hint of that. Interesting. Okay, which takes us finally to Morocco, Beldia. That's the iconic one. Right?
Moroccan Beldia, an ultra-fast Kif landrace. Now, Kif itself is usually the ground flower mixed with tobacco.
Smoked in those long sebzi pipes.
Yeah. But the plant, the Beldia, it's perfectly suited for dry sift hash. That's the famous Moroccan export.
So its speed, its size, how well it works for dry sift. That's why it became such a cornerstone for global hash.
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize that. It's kind of the peak evolution of that fast, resinous, short-season plant that started back in the hash belt, optimized for its purpose.
Okay, so we've mapped the indica backbone, the short, resin-heavy plants. Now, a total shift, right? Equatorial zones.
Massive shift. We're heading to the sativa highways and tropical heights. Tall plants, long flowering times, totally different effects. Think ancestors of haze.
Where first? Southeast Asia.
Let's call it the Terpenoline Trail.
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. We're talking Thai, including the famous chocolate Thai, Vietnam Black, Lao Highland strains.
Legendary names. And known for taking forever to flower, right? Equatorial sativas.
Months, yeah. Sometimes 6 months or more. But the chemistry is the real story here.
Okay.
The source material flags them as terpenoline-heavy. Terpenoline. That's the terpene giving that complex, sharp scent. Piney, herbal, citrusy, sometimes a bit fuel-like.
And that contributes to the electric high.
That's what breeders associate with it, yeah. A
Yeah.
clear, energetic feeling. And that terpenoline signature. That's why these Southeast Asian strains are direct ancestors of haze and chocolate. Breeders were chasing that specific effect.
Got it. Okay, from Southeast Asia ac across the Indian Ocean to Africa.
Exactly, the African continent. This place holds a chemically unique key for modern sativa breeding.
Unique how? We're talking Dobin poison, red Congolese, Swazi gold.
Ethiopian, Angola red, Mozambique gold, a whole range. And what's really striking, the sources consistently identify this region's strains as being distinctly THCV-rich.
THCV. Tetrahydrocannabivarin. Okay, for listeners maybe not deep in cannabinoid science,
Yeah.
why is THCV such a big deal here? What makes it special?
Well, the practical effects are why breeders focused on it. THCV often gives a shorter high, more clear-headed, and importantly, it's studied for things like appetite suppression.
Ah, the opposite of the munchies.
Exactly. Different metabolic effects than standard THC, so that energetic, focused buzz from African landraces, largely down to this high THCV content combined with those citrus spice terp profiles.
So if a breeder today wants an energetic sativa, maybe without that hunger effect, they have to look back at these African lines.
That's basically it. They realized early on this chemical combo was special to the continent. Made strains like Durban Poison absolutely vital for modern sativa hybrids aimed at focus and clarity.
Wow, okay, crossing the Atlantic now, Latin America. This is skunk and haze territory too, right? Legendary stuff.
Oh, absolutely legendary. Colombian Gold or Punto Rojo. The Mexican lines like Acapulco Gold, Oaxacan, Panama Red, Brazilian Sativa. These were huge names decades ago.
Defining the market back then. Tropical giants.
And genetically foundational. They bring those tropical incense and citrus notes. They form the backbone for skunk #1.
Which is arguably one of the most important hybrids ever.
Definitely. And they heavily influence the haze lines too. Massive contribution.
Okay, and rounding out the tropics.
Islands.
Island lineages, yeah. Creating their own distinct vibes. Jamaican Lambsbread, of course. The Hawaiians, Maui Wowie, Kona Gold, Kauai Electric. And Reunion's Zamal.
Similar profiles. Tropical, euphoric.
Yeah, that classic tropical sativa high. And like their Southeast Asian relatives, often very terpenoline rich.
Sure.
Island isolation created unique variations, but they fit firmly in that long-flowering, energetic sativa group.
Okay, what a trip. Fast resin plants, slow equatorial giants. How do we tie this all together? Is there a bridge?
There is one specific geographic outlier the sources highlight as a vital link: East Asia,
East Asia, how so?
specifically China Yunnan. Geographically and genetically, it's positioned just right.
Yeah.
It's described as a broadleaf dominant indica variant. So, compact, calming.
Like the hash belt strains? Kind of, yeah. But its location allowed it to act as a sort of hybrid bridge, connecting the broader Asian landrace lines with those heavy Afghani indica genetics from further west.
So it linked the eastern and western branches of the family tree, even before modern breeding.
Seems like it. It suggests that while isolation drove specialization, there were also these key exchange points where traits could merge naturally over time.
Right. So let's distill this. If someone's listening, what are the main takeaways? Two big genetic streams shaping today's market.
I think we can boil it down pretty clearly for you. The Kush family and most classic indicas, their genetic, stable, compact resinous come almost entirely from that Central Asian hash belt. Afghanistan, Pakistan.
Okay, indica equals hash belt.
Pretty much. Then the Haze and Skunk families.
Yeah.
Built heavily on those electric, long-flowering sativas from Southeast Asia and Latin America.
With Africa adding that special ingredient.
Exactly, with those African strains contributing that really unique THCV signature for clarity and energy.
So understanding the origin really tells you why people use these plants historically.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. Why was hash belt cannabis used for hash? Maximum resin on a short plant? Why were Lebanese strains prized? Semi-auto flower meant an early, reliable harvest.
And why are African genetics key for modern clear-headed sativas?
Because of the THCV, that distinct, focused effect. Knowing the geography links directly to the chemistry and the desired outcome, it's not just random.
It's an incredible map we've traced, from Morocco's super-fast hash plants, the unique resilience of Himalayan sativas for charas, all the way to those electric, THCV-rich pioneers in South Africa.
The diversity is just astounding, and it all comes back to centuries of isolation, adaptation to climate, and specific human cultural needs.
Which brings us perfectly to that final thought. The sources define these land races by that very isolation that purity developed over time.
Their adaptation.
Right. But now global breeding is accelerating like crazy. Hybridization is everywhere. So what happens to these pure regional land races? How much longer can these ancestral stocks even stay genetically distinct from the global hybrids they helped create?
Before they just get absorbed into the mix entirely.
Yeah. Are we losing the blueprints? Something for you to think about next time you appreciate the deep history behind your favorite strain.
Well,